How we doing, traders on out there? Welcome to another round of Stock Market Movers, where we go through all the headlines in the intraday and, of course, get to the expert opinions to keep the informational edge in your favor. Like always, guys, do me the favor. Let's start it off well. Let's hit a like, a thumbs on up. Tell me what stock caught your attention today. Of course, you guys can mention that in the comments. I'm ready to dive into today's show. We're going to talk a lot about what's going on, of course, with the Pelosi visit to Taiwan. We'll take a look if there's a turn in the labor market. What could that bring? Of course, we're starting to see some numbers come on out. Concerns on consumer credit. What's going on out there? Should we have concerns on that credit? For the Pelosi trip, what could happen and what could come from this visit, of course, and we'll take a look at what was hot, what was not, and then we'll get into all our earnings reports to get through. We got a lot to talk about. We got Pinterest, Mosaic, Avis Budget, Caterpillar, DuPont, Uber, BP, JetBlue, Royal Caribbean, and Cowen to get into. Of course, we got our interview today. We got Ben Silverman, Director in Research at VerityData. Excited to get into that. And then we're going to do a little bit of a replay action from Jeremy Schwartz this morning on Pre-Market Prep, the Chief Investment Officer at WisdomTree. Stay tuned for today's show. We got a lot to talk about. Let's start diving in, and welcome to Stock Market Movers with your host, Money Mitch. Let's dive on in.
It's time for Money Making Mitch. When investors need a story, we're going to the moon. Welcome to Money Mitch, where story is everything. I'm here to find you the next opportunity. It's all about the green hands. Now, we all know the bull market is here to stay. Money Mitch.
What's up, traders on out there? Are you guys enjoying the trading action? I know I'm having fun in this market. We're trying to see if we can get through the highs on the SPY. Let's take a look here. I spy with my little eyes, see if we can get through these levels. Been talking about how if we could get back towards the 410s today, it would be an interesting level to get through. Now we're up there to 412s, trying to get back into this. Of course, holding up here for a couple of days is what kind of I expect now. The real question is, do we have room for that run to 420? I know a lot of people were looking bearish today, and there you have it. Wouldn't you know it, the market up. Let's talk a little bit about what is the talk that's going on out there. Well, first thing we're going to get into is, of course, talking about the labor market. Will we see a turn in the labor market is my question that I'll throw out to you guys. You guys let me know what you guys think in the comments to the left. Of course, this is important because I want to know what you guys think, and this is an important part of this show. So I'm going to ask more questions more often for you guys to answer. Just hit the comments. Let me know what you guys think. All right, so a total here is really starting to show on up here. Let me scroll on up. So the jobs opening plunged in June is the lowest level since September 2021. It's a potential sign that we could start seeing this market slow down. It's something that I think a lot of people are paying attention to really give us the sign that we're in a recession, right? If all of a sudden we get the job market and the labor market to just, really start slowing down, that's going to show us more and more that we are in a recession. The total employment The total employment fell 10.7 million through the last day of June, a decline of 605 or 5.4%. Sorry, just had some buzzing in my ear, alerts going off. According to the jobs opening market, this is from the JOLTS report. So the vacancies falling about 10.7 million to the last day of June. This is a big decline, and I think this is going to be leading to, of course, the jobless claims report that we're going to be watching for that comes on Friday. And if you pay attention to that, right now the estimates are looking for an increase of 258,000. But we're going to keep watch, because if we start seeing that jobs market start slowing down, of course, you'll hear more and more talks of recession. And what did you hear Powell talk about often on the FOMC meeting? is that he expects this to come on in. So this is going to be one of those expected things. But if it doesn't slow down, that goes and shows more and more that they can pressure probably that jobs market a little bit more. We'll see what happens. Let's get out of the labor market, but still concerns out there is the consumer credit and what's going on here. How's the demand? How's the back to school season? How's this going to work? Well, at least right now, we're starting to see concerns of credit card balances. They rose 13% in the second quarter, notching the second largest year-over-year increase in more than 20 years, according to a report from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. Also, just to mention here, 233 million new credit card accounts opened in the quarter, the most since, of course, the financial crisis. So something to definitely keep on watch is how the consumer's credit is going, and will we continue to see trying to catch up to those prices of inflation by using credit cards is not going to lead to a long-term success. Maybe we can do this in the short run, but long-term, this is definitely a concern for the consumer. And we'll see if inflation gets sticky here, how those consumers can make it out. Of course, we are looking to see the CPI report that's going to be coming out next week on Wednesday to show inflation peaking. We'll see what happens there. All right, let's get out of the consumer credit. I want to catch up with you guys in the chat. What's up, Daniel? Why are you doing the CMT program? Well, I'll let you know a little bit about that later. I mean, I got a lot to get into today with the headlines, but stick around, Daniel. I don't mind answering that question. Of course, I was able to pass my CMT level 1 exam. That's Chartered Market Technician, and I'm continuing to push forward. We'll see what happens there. Let's catch up with the chat. How we doing out there, Brandon? How we doing, Lord, Beach Bum, Easy, Urban? What's up out there, guys? All right, let's go ahead. Let's get into the next topic. I think a lot of people are thinking about this, of course, is the Pelosi trip, right? And what could happen. Well, let's take a look at the SPY here and see how it's trading right now. You can actually see we started coming up there around the 10:30 time, right when, around when Pelosi was landing. And what has happened, right? What has happened here is important here. So House Speaker Nancy Pelosi landed in Taiwan capital on Tuesday night. China responded Tuesday by announcing new import bans on certain Taiwanese goods. Chinese military also was doing live fire exercises just 80 miles from Taiwan. So as you saw, and you guys heard probably about this, is that as Pelosi was drawing near, the People's Liberation Army deployed fighter jets to Taiwan Strait that flew very close to the center line of that strait, which is very rarely crossed. So this is really starting to become more of a concern in what a lot of people are watching. Now, that's what happened. Now, what could happen, right, is an important thing. We got comments from TSMs, and we got this from their chair, Mark Liu. He said that the war brings no winners and everybody losers. The world's most advanced chip maker and company that supports Apple and Qualcomm here. It manufactures Apple's A-series, M-series chips and has over 50% of the world's semiconductor foundry market. So definitely not what we want to see if TSM is just going to come crashing down. You could actually see it bounce today off that 83.95. We'll see what happens here. Does it get back above 90s or crack down towards 80? Keep this one on watch. It's going to tell us a lot about what's going on in the situation with China. And will we see China retaliate for what happened here? I think this is something we need to keep on watch. Of course, the rhetoric is going to be going back and forth. So just keep on watch to see if there's any actions that get done, not just talk. I think this is what we need to watch for here in the Pelosi trip. We'll see what happens if China actually does something. Looks like Ethers is telling me that China firing a warning shot crossed the bow of the USS USA. I have no confirmation on that, but definitely something to keep on watch. We'll see what happens. Of course, if they were firing at U.S. ships, I think you would see a downturn in the market, but we'll see right now. We are getting up there towards the 412s. We'll see if they can get out of this and what really happens with this trip. All right, let's get back to it here. Now we're going to go into getting out of the Pelosi trip. Let's go into what was hot and what was not. This is my favorite segment of the day, like always, where we get into the stocks that were hot today and where the rotation went, where it didn't go, right? I think it's important to always watch this. Of course, I do this on a daily basis and watch the change for percentage open, but it's important also to watch how this develops throughout the week. Are you getting some sectors to lead us one day, then they're at the bottom the next? It's important to catch this, and that's how you go ahead and focus on the rotation. Where's the money going? Where's the money leaving is so important. All right, let's take a look here and see what we see on the charts. And so you can see the SPY trying to push there. Let's take another relook here from the change from the open. And wouldn't you know it, actually technology leading us up today. Earlier in the day, it was consumer cyclical and healthcare. Now technology taking the lead here. And let's take a look at the hourly. So you guys can see here from the morning, we've gone straight up on some of these tech names. Which ones are doing well? Let's look at some of the high cap names. NVIDIA up about 2.1% there. You got Google up about 1.29%. So having a good day in certain ones here. Apple also holding on, not really going into the red, holding on to that 159 that I talked about. As long as they can keep closing above the 159, I'm pretty bullish on Apple, but it needs to hold that level, of course. AMD also pushed on up there. I actually got squeezed out of this today. I was looking for a short in AMD, and it's just to show you guys, right? I mean, you're never always going to be 100%, but always respect your levels. AMD getting back above 100. And just to state here, right, this is a stock that will have earnings after the bell today. So pay attention to AMD. And if you guys want to catch that earnings call, you don't got to go anywhere. Catch it right here on Benzinga. We'll have it on later today. All right, what's another area that was hot? Solar, baby, in technology, really taking lead here. This is why I like focusing on industries, because it's so important. The first day that we started getting mentions of that new climate and solar being mentioned with mention, you could see here, ENPH continuing to take off. This is a stock that I've been talking about for a while now, guys. I was talking about this stock when it was down at 200. Now we're up there towards, and sorry about that, guys. Now we're up there towards almost 300 and taking off there on ENPH through the 52-week high and really pushing. And this is not only in one stock. This is why I think it's so important to catch these stocks, because really, SEDG moves really well with ENPH. Look at this stock now taking off there, really starting to push. First Solar continuing to hold that 100. Run getting some lift. Shells, Sun Power taking off today. JKS getting some bounce there. Innova, CSIQ, all of these into the green. It's not just one. Even the cheaper name like SPI in the green today, up about 4%. What does that show me? That shows me that it's an industry-wide move. Will there be leaders? Yes, the leader to me is ENPH here. But at the same time, I could play the basket here and really gain some nice profit towards my return. And I think this is what we all look for, is finding the rotation. All right. Is he coming on at 1:30? AMD always making Dallas. We should have our guest on here in just a few minutes. He should have been joining in here. Ben Silverman, he should be here soon. So just stick around, guys. We'll get to our interview coming up. All right, let's continue going. Let's take a look at what else is being mentioned out there. Going to continue pushing. Solar, really good name. Software applications also started to do really well here. Uber is leading this drive. We'll talk about their earnings coming on up and why Uber is up so nice there. All right, let's continue going with what was hot and what was not in consumer cyclical. So if you take a look at consumer cyclical, what was leading it? Gambling, baby. You guys know I talked about yesterday, I took my swing on the DraftKings Full disclosure, still have all my piece, looking to sell some up there towards 16. But DraftKings taking off today, 8.4% up. Was watching this one. IGT up significant too. RSI up significant. And I'm also taking the Penn National Gaming also up significantly. So we're going to watch this. You see also Resort Casinos having a good day. Caesars up 5.6%. Penn up 4.9%. Bally's up 3.3%. So definitely finding a little bit of a push there in consumer cyclical today. All right, so what is leading us on the downside? So communication services really getting hit hard. Some stocks you guys can watch here. I mean, a lot of this has to do with kind of Verizon getting hit hard, T-Mobile starting to turn around, AT&T coming down. I'm kind of really concerned about AT&T because of what's going on with the Sunday ticket, and how this will really affect AT&T in the long run is something that I want to keep on watch. Why AT&T? Because, of course, it owns DirecTV, right? So we got to keep this on watch to see what happens. All right, let's go to defensives that were also not the best here. What is dragging us there is the Brewers. Some people were asking me about TAP. Look at that TAP turnaround there, guys. Looks like it's all tapped out, baby, because this keg ain't moving nowhere right now. Pulling back there towards the 53s. And this gives me an ugly outlook for Sam. Sam's is going to probably drop on this, and it was starting to come back, but I think it makes its way back towards 300. TAP was the best looking one after it popped above the 50s, but man, what a turnaround on the downside there in TAP. All right, it's not only that. You can look at soft drinks, wineries, households, still not having a good day after having a really good day yesterday, like CL. We'll see what happens with those. Those are defensive kind of value names. All right, let's get out of what was hot and what was not. Let's go into our earnings today. First one up, Pinterest. Let's get into it. PINS here. Trying to hold there. It was holding in the pre-market, trying to get back up there. But right out the gates, boom, knocked down, right back down. Why was it up? Well, a lot of that, I would say, is based on, of course, Elliott Management, Investment Management, announcing that they are now Pinterest's largest investors. So they're believing in Elliott Management. I personally don't like this stock, but hey, to each his own. Pinterest adjusted EPS coming in here at 11 cents, missing the 18-cent estimate. Sales at 666 million, missing the 673.66 million estimate. Pinterest did report global monthly active users were down 5% to 433 million. They did see revenue growing in mid-single digits on a year-to-year percentage basis, and something to definitely keep on watch. This one's coming down. I think this is also due to what's going on in Meta and Snap, because at the end of the day, in my eyes, I just feel that social media has changed. But we need to keep on watch to see how that data kind of affects stocks like Pinterest. Of course, this stock was a monster mover in the pandemic, got up there to $90, now down to $20. That's a hard turnaround there. The question is, do we hold here around the 17 and start making our way back towards 25, or do we just give up this little pop that we got? Of course, a lot of it coming off the Elliott Investment Management call out there. Let's get out of Pinterest here. Let's go to Mosaic. Mosaic, I actually traded the other day on Friday. Was looking for a move through 51 today, and nice little move on up. Missed this one for the trade here in the intraday, but remember, I traded this one last time up there through the 52. Now you're getting this move right back through 51. Doesn't look too bad on the daily now, putting in a nice bullish engulfing candle after pulling back off the 50s there. We'll see what happens in Mosaic here. EPS missing here, $3.64, missing the $4.01 estimate. Sales of $5.4 billion, missing the $5.65 billion estimate. They did approve, though, a new $2 billion share repurchase authorization. So keep this one on watch. Had a nice move up today. We'll see if it can continue moving. All right, let's rev it on up. Let's rev up the cars in the Avis budget group. coming on down and fast, man. This came on fast down from the open here. Even though they killed it on the earnings, the EPS coming in here at $15.94, beating the $11.46 estimate. Sales at $3.24 billion, beating the $3.19 billion estimate there in Avis budget. It's crazy on out there. We'll see what happens there, but definitely car budget getting hit hard off of those numbers. Did Hertz see the same downfall? Yes, it did see the same downfall. So we got to know those relationships so that we can maybe play it off that, maybe use it as a hedge if you got caught long in Avis. And this is what I always talk about. There's always strategies and tools you can add to your tool belt. So look into that and maybe look at how could I potentially have hedged my bet there in Avis using Hertz as a trading vehicle. We'll see what happens there. And definitely car with a big pullback today after a really good beat on that EPS and a beat off the revenue. So interesting to see that downturn. All right, out of Avis, let's look at the dead cat bounce in Caterpillar. All right, well, they tried the dead cat bounce there. It bounced on up there and now coming right back down. So, I mean, you could say a dead cat bounced in there. It was trying to come on back there, Caterpillar, trying to make its way back to the 200. And what a hard turnaround today in Caterpillar. After a beat and a miss here on revenue, EPS beat, though, at $3.18, beating the $3.01 estimate. Sales at $14.2 billion, missing the $14.38 billion estimate. Caterpillar is one to definitely keep on watch to see what happens in the third quarter, fourth quarter, but definitely it turned around hard and it just doesn't want to come back, at least for the time being. Bearish chart on the 15-minute. It definitely needs to get back above, let's say, through this closing here where you couldn't even hold some of these wicks. So 189, let's say if we can get back up there through that level towards the 190s, we can turn around. But right now it's pointing towards the downside. All right, catching up with the chat. What's going on out there, guys? HCC destroyed some of their customers saying that they stole cars when they didn't. What do you mean? That who stole a car and got caught? I don't know. Hey, HTZ, let me know. Hertz has too many lawsuits. Yeah, I won't touch Hertz, but hey, it's something that we could all focus on. I see a lot of people talking, of course, about HKD. I'm going to try to stick off of that stock. I know it's a monster move. Not really this type of show's stock, so I'm going to try to focus on other movers. But if you got something you want to specifically call out, you can go ahead and do so. All right, let's keep going. Let's get into the next one here. DuPont is one interesting move. Let's take a look at that. That's DD. You can see it was kind of coming on back there towards the 60s. Not a lot of move there. EPS at 88 cents, sales at 3.3 billion. They see EPS here adjusted and sees full year 2022 EPS at $3.27 on the low side and $3.43 on the high side. So we'll see what happens there. Definitely needs to come back there. Let's go towards the big stock of the day, the stock that's moving the most, Uber, baby. Stock market gainers. There you guys see it. Uber taking a lift there. Get what I did there? Uber and Lyft. Well, it took a lift, all right, but not the one that they wanted. At least Lyft was probably coming down towards their 52-week low. But this was an interesting report because it just didn't point to the upside for me. But sales did beat, so let's talk about that. EPS coming in here at a loss of $1.33, missing the $1.06 estimate. Huge miss on EPS, but they did beat on sales. $8.10 billion, beating the $7.39 billion estimate. Gross bookings were up about 33% year over year, and EBITDA on the low end at $440 million to the high end at $470. We'll see what happened here. Of course, Uber did report a net loss of $2.6 billion. A lot of this coming from the $1.7 billion, which was attained in investments and revaluation of stakes in Aurora, Grab, and Zomato. Of course, Aurora being that autonomous play, Grab and Zomato kind of being more of that Uber Eats and out there. I don't know too much about Zomato's. I do know about Grab. All right, let's keep going. Let's take a look at the next stock on up. We're going to get into BP, baby. Let's talk about BP and what do we see in oil today. Did energy get in the green? Yes, it did, baby. It's at 0.3 now. I actually played Gush earlier today, so not a bad play in Gush if you guys were able to catch that. I got in this one at 151.25, selling it up there. Not a bad play in some oil plays. Let's go to BP. BP is actually just going sideways here after a beat and a beat here. $2.61 beating the $2.10 estimate, beating the 67.86 billion. It came in at 67.86 billion on the sales, beating the 58.73 billion estimate. They said they will execute a 3.5 billion buyback prior to Q3 results and raise their dividend. It's something to keep on watch. It did go up there right before the pre-market, just holding kind of sideways here. Take a look at the daily. It's trying to get back through that 30. If it can get through that 30, we could start holding maybe 29 as support. All right, getting out of BP, keep on watch the energy trade. I think this is really one that I'm watching. I wanted to see XOM close into the green today. You guys are seeing it in the green right now. It did push on up there. Was watching it from this 945. We'll see if it can close green today and still see some of these oil trade keep going. We'll see what happens, right? Does oil keep pushing towards the high side? All right, let's go to JetBlue. JetBlue here, JetBlue Airways trying to hold but couldn't hold here. It did pop for a little bit there, bouncing back, but can't hold here. JetBlue EPS coming in here at a loss of 47 cents, missing the loss of 11-cent estimate. Sales, 2.4 billion, missing the 2.46 billion estimate. JetBlue Airways CEO said that they were very pleased, of course, of the path forward with Spirit, and that they can't wait to include their incredible 10,000 team members to JetBlue as we create a true national low-fare challenger to the dominant Big Four airlines. They did see, of course, ex-fuel to increase 15 to 17% as fuel prices were higher, and I think this is what really is affecting the airlines. It's going to probably come back here in the long run. I think you just keep letting it kind of dip down. Eventually, we could take a shot, let's say closer towards 7 or 6. But for right now, it looks like it wants to crack that 8, and I'm not going to get it ahead of that bearish chart. This looks very bearish, like it just wants to break down. We'll see what happens there. All right, guys, we're going to play a quick trailer, and we'll be right back as we continue going through some of these stocks. And then we'll get you guys into an interview today. Let's go, guys. Smash the like.
When you want to maximize your performance in the market, you need access to the highest quality tools and news available. BENZINGA Pro stands out from all of the options you'll be presented with, and their instant access to market-moving news positions you to be prepared to take on the market in the best ways possible. Here's how it works. BENZINGA Pro's news desk creates original news content that's available on your main news feed and gives you actionable information about companies you may want to invest in. This news desk information gives you the chance to beat the market, receive impactful news as it breaks, and jump on trending stocks before and as they rise. And beyond that, BENZINGA Pro is packed with helpful features and unique insights that give you the best information possible. There's tools like the Live Audio Squawk, which streams every day with important news and timely updates, and the real-time news alerts that allow you to stay on top of every developing story you're keeping tabs on. Alerts and news will be sent straight to your inbox or delivered as live sound alerts. For those investors that want real-time, actionable, and breaking news about companies they may be looking to invest in, BENZINGA Pro is the tool to use.
All right, traders, welcome back. Let's go ahead. Let's keep diving on in. If you guys got a ticker on your watch, throw it up in the chat. Looks like we're having some issues with Ben Silverman, so I don't think we will be getting to Ben today. Of course, I'm sorry about that. It's my fault here. I don't know what's going on and why we weren't able to get Ben on, but I'm just going to do my best to get him on another day. So let's continue going. I do have still something that we'll dive into at 145. I still have a lot of stocks to take a look at. Today's going to be a little bit more of a wild card. We can take a look at stocks that you guys like. I'm going to keep going through some of the news that I have, and then we'll keep rolling through. Let's do this, team. All right, let's go. Let's take a look here. The next ticker up that I want to see is RCL. How's it trading today? Royal Caribbean, right? I think we need to keep on watch. They announced an upsize $1 billion debt offering, and it actually is up on the day off of this. This is interesting, right? It dropped big and recovered big, but we saw this similar happen with CCL, Carnival. Look at that popping off of this. You don't expect this to kind of give them lift, but what this is giving them is what? Time, right? Time is so important. If they can hang around through this tough environment, eventually find a good environment, a growing environment for them, maybe they can turn the ship around, as they would say. So keep this one on watch. Of course, Royal Caribbean. One thing that I will give you guys insight, and it's a situation that I myself find myself in. So I canceled a cruise, and I do have some credit with Royal Caribbean. And one of the things with that credit is I do need to schedule the actual cruise and pay for it before the end of the year. So this is something that I'm going to definitely do. And I think that others will do the same. They're probably watching like I am where they're going to take their next trip. But I think that in the quarters coming on up in quarter 3 and Q4, I think you might actually see a spike in bookings here from Royal Caribbean because of those credits that they gave. They gave the ability that you had until the end of the year to make that decision. So maybe you see some late bookings coming on in, also with the bookings that are going to be already coming in from Royal Caribbean. We'll see what happens with that one. And if it's able to get off the, let's say we can say getting off the kind of the sand line here. It's going to be interesting. Royal Caribbean's been struggling. Of course, what could help it is cheaper oil. But I mean, think about where we are. This is almost down to the pandemic levels of 23. So, I mean, it's dropped massively over the last 2 or 3 months. All right, what's going on, chat? How we doing out there? How's the Tesla trade done already? Yeah, I kind of closed that Tesla trade. I was trying to hold on to it, but I kind of added to it today, change agent, and it kind of ruined my trade there. If I would have held on around the levels that I was in, I don't think I ever would have been stopped out. Actually, yeah, this last move would have got me out there. So remember, I was in from 922. We went right to that level here, and then now we're dropping really fast. Is the market dropping really fast? Yeah, it's dropping fast there, man. Look at that turnaround on the Qs, guys. We got some downside negative as we're starting to see this really getting hurt now. Be careful out this, guys, but I'm definitely seeing some turnaround there. Want to keep paying attention. What's going on? I'm trying to focus to see if there's anything that's going on out there, but of course, I'm just looking at what I can see in front of me, and it's looking like we got a quick turnaround there in some of the names. So keep watch to see what happens, what comes into those kind of losing sectors. Now you're seeing industrials, basic materials leaking further and further in the red. Real estate also leaking down here. I'll see eventually. Do we start cracking on ITB? There you guys see it. It's starting to crack. I've been waiting for this trade for a while. We'll see what happens there. ITB home construction. Listen to Granddaddy Mitch. No shorting Tesla. I remember that comment earlier today. We'll see what happens. Bullard talk today. Oof. You got to be careful with that Bullard. All right, let's keep going. Let's take a look at the other headline that I had, which was Cowen, of course, after being acquired by TD Bank. Let's take a look at that. That's COWN. How's this trade today? Well, not bad. It traded up a little bit off of this news. Not a big move, though. I mean, it's just sideways action here. We'll see if this can eventually get out of this sideways action. Cheapest time to take a cruise in Florida is October due to hurricanes, you know? Yeah, I mean, that could definitely change your trip around there. But just keep watch. We'll see what happens. It's kind of interesting that you would think that the kind of the sea temperatures would have to do with kind of like this, but hey, I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens in the cruise lines. I'm watching the airlines also to see if those can come back. AAL was going up there, and man, what a turnaround we're having here in the market overall. Are we seeing some of the big movers like Apple get hit hard on this? Yeah, we are. Something happened in the last kind of from 125. Somebody's talking out there. Let me know if you guys see anything. I need to pull up my Benzinga Pro to see if for any reason we're having kind of Bullard talk like we just heard mentioned in the chat, but there's just a lot going on. All right, that's going to do it for the headlines today. Now, I do want to go ahead and take a look at maybe some of the top movers out there. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get into our interview, or really, it's going to be a replay from Pre-Market Prep's interview of Jeremy Schwartz, Chief Investment Officer at WisdomTree. This was from this morning, so I want you guys to tune in. Check this interview out. I thought he gave some really good insight on the Fed's outlook, what they're looking at. Of course, nothing's changed since this morning, at least in the Fed outlook. So let's see what Jeremy thought about the Fed this morning. All right, so let me stop screen. Let me share it over and over again here. And here you guys go. To our guest today, we got Jeremy Schwartz here, Chief Investment Officer at WisdomTree. He might have run away because of that rant, but let's bring him on. What's going on, Jeremy? How we doing?
My best bot impression. I don't know. Beep.
Jeremy's definitely a bot. You can just see it. You know, he's a bot. Just seeing the way he's.
I've always aspired to be a bot.
So, Jeremy, you've done interviews over the years. How's that for being in the green room and having to come on and talk about investments? But we got a lot going on here. I guess just overall, like a muddled macro picture here, but the market's rallied. I mean, we've had a nice rally. You could classify it, as a bear market rally. The worries about inflation, not a big deal right now. Q2 earnings season. I think the street is being pretty kind to some of these companies. So just give us your big picture.
Well, I'm surprised by how much bond yields have fallen. And I think so much of the market has been trading off of the bond market. When you saw the Fed aggressively hiking rates, the 10-year moved up significantly. We got up to 350 on the 10-year. We're back at 250. And people have been saying, you could say maybe they're worried about the recession. Are we in recession? How deep is recession going to get? And I think that, one of the big things is people weren't prepared for how hawkish the Fed was going to have to be coming into the year. I mean, in December, they were only expecting 3 hikes. We just had 2 back-to-back meetings with 3 hikes. So, the people were completely not forecasting it right. And I am worried now for next year, people are expecting them to start cutting rates so aggressively. And I'm not so sure. I think the narrative is that there's a question of what they should do and what they will do. And we would say they should, they should actually, inflation is going to start coming down. And so we'd be on the view that they probably don't have to do as much. But the narrative from the Fed, you're going to start seeing more speakers come out today. You had Kashkari come out on Friday and over the weekend start saying we still have a lot of work to do. So I think the market might be getting ahead of itself, forecasting this more aggressive cutting scenario for next year.
Wow. Okay. I agree too. I mean, we go from a hawkish Fed, rates are going up a stick every meeting. And then, all of a sudden it's like, okay. Yeah. And I'm looking at the TLT here. I mean, this has had just an epic collapse. I'm looking at the TLT on the monthly 180 to under 110. So there's always counter moves, and we can see that. What about I know it's hard. You're a fundamental guy, and you look at the numbers. I mean, how do you factor what's going on in China, Russia? I mean, you don't hear anything about Russia. You don't hear anything about the war in Ukraine, and now we got this thing popping China. How do you factor these things in that there's really almost impossible to factor in?
The politics is a lot of noise going on in Asia now. And I think when you go through all these headlines, like why was China putting pressure on Pelosi publicly to say they don't want her to visit without knowing that, of course, that's going to make it much more likely for her to visit. So I have a very pretty cynical take of what's going on there, that they actually wanted her to visit. They wanted to have this pomp and circumstance that they could then present this strong thing of this, Pelosi's coming. We've got to do our show of military strength and sort of take distractions off of what's going on within China with COVID-0 and all sorts of other economic slowdowns there. So I feel like it's all a distraction, and people trade on that. Now, of course, there could be some kind of, nobody thought, you had all these Russian troops building up in Ukraine and people didn't expect them to actually invade. And then they invaded and could say there's this outlier risk that all of a sudden some kind of thing happens and we find ourselves in an Asian war. And that, of course, that could happen. But I think it's more likely that it's all just a show and force to bring this distraction. But that's obviously a key issue for emerging markets, for Asia generally.
All right, traders, I'm going to jump on in there and just dive on in. Let's talk a little bit about the Fed and what we can expect. Of course, what I'm watching for is inflation, right? I think inflation really is the key here. Why do I think inflation is so important? Is because if we look at PCE, which was what the Fed focuses on, and that didn't show any slowing down there. Of course, they can take a look at CPI to give them a little bit of a look, but PCE is the one that they focus on, and it didn't show that sign of the core inflation coming down. And so in my eyes, I think from this point, the Fed is kind of handcuffed here to making a decision if they should continue to raise those interest rates, even though at least they see some numbers pointing that inflation topped, but at least in their data, and if they're data dependent, like they keep saying they are, will they determine that, hey, well, inflation still hasn't peaked, at least in PCE, so we're going to go ahead and interest hike that rate one more time here and see what happens then. Another concern of mine is oil going into winter, because of course, when did this talk of inflation peaking happen? Is when we started seeing the commodities like wheat, corn, soybeans really coming down, but we also saw oil come down fast. And so that gave us a little bit better feeling of food shortage worries and oil concerns and demand and the prices at the pumps, right? And so from there, the one thing that I have to draw on is that oil's coming back a little bit. We've seen it starting to come back. Will it catch another ride on up and all of a sudden be right back up there to all-time highs, or at least 52-week highs on price per barrel? And then the next thing you know, does inflation roar its ugly head and come right back around? Even though we started seeing inflation peak, all of a sudden, boom, energy inflation comes right back into this market. And the next thing you know, now the Fed really find themselves in a pace of worry as all this interest rate hikes are not controlling inflation. So do I think this is going to happen? I don't think it's going to happen just yet, but it could go into winter. The question is, how long will it take to get that peak, or will the next run happen in oil? Is something that I think a lot of investors are starting to weigh. I know UNG and kind of gas situation, I think that's definitely going to come. There's just too much strong arm with Russia. And so with that being said, I could see like UNG pulling back right now, then eventually breaking out. Let's take a look at that chart, see how it's trading today. You're seeing it pull on back here. Where could it find some support? I think we need to keep on watch to see what happens here off of this closing period, which was the first kind of push on up. Can it recover 27.25s? That's going to be a good level for it to come right back on up there and get through the 32s, through that 32.76, and give us a new high. And this has been pushing well. I'm going to keep watch here to see if we can stair step right back on up. But it's something that I definitely want to see what happens. Is David Mitchery coming for the interview? No, David Mitchery is not coming for the interview. I know that we were going to have an interview with Ben Silverman, but I don't know what happened there. I don't know if he had something, a little bit of mix up. I'm sure he got held up with something else. We'll go ahead and reach on out to him and see how we can get him on, more than likely tomorrow, if not sometime next week. All right, but this is definitely on my eyes. I know that a lot of people are trading oil We'll see if oil can catch that bounce and get back up there. And natural gas, will that make the run? I think I'm watching it, of course, with oil too overall, and we'll see if it can get that lift. If they both just takes off, I think inflation can get to new levels, and then will really call signs of concern. All right, what's going on out there, guys? APDN, what a move. Hey, I'll take a look at some of those. I have no problem. If you guys got some stocks to check on out, we can do a little bit of ticker time. Throw it up in the chat if you guys want to check out a ticker today. And definitely we're seeing a little bit of pullback here, so we got to be on the concern to watch out. I'm trying to see if I get an answer out there to see what's going on, but no answer yet. I'm reaching out to my writers and my journalists to see if I can find what happened there on the turnaround in the SPY. All right, let's see what's going on out there right now. It looks like healthcare coming back there, technology coming back. Those have been doing decent. Let's take a look at the 5 minutes. Those dropped at 125. Are they coming on back here? Just finding a little bit of support, some sideways action, but it doesn't look good right now. Let's take a look at the overall market. The SPY now down to 409s here. Went sideways for about 15 minutes and looks like it's ready to take that next leg down. We'll see what happens there. Did I hold and make a profit on the Gush trade, Beach Bum? Yes, I did. Hell yeah, I did. Let's go towards the 3 minutes so you guys can see that trade. I actually sold that trade into the 153 level here. As you guys can see, I'll show you guys that right now. Let me just make this full screen and focus in here. So what was I watching on Gush? Well, I was watching it right around here. And this was before this kind of push, right? So Gush was coming on back. XOM was actually above the VWAP. I wasn't able to get into that, so I was looking for Gush to get back above the 150s. It did a nice strong candles where it gets right back above here, starts pushing above the 152 level. I'm looking for a pullback towards around the 150-30 level. And on this pullback, boom, I got filled there. Saw it start coming on up here, sold it into that first push into the 152s. And as we were getting off, through that 153, was able to take 3 points on this name. So not a bad trade there for Gush. And then it eventually went all the way up there to 157. So I probably missed out on some of the gain there, but can't be upset about the trade. It was a nice one. Joe Biden announces monkeypox stocks. Well, yeah, definitely. Let's take a look at those. Let's take a look. APDN. Ooh, what a monster. It's continuing to run there. This APDN, Applied DNA Sciences. Another one that's been kind of going with this one is GOVX. Look at that pre-market and then watch. Boom. This one actually coming back down towards the hourly support of 3. We'll see if it catches the support at 3 and then comes back on up. But this has been an absolute monster move. All right, what's going on out there, guys? If you guys got a ticker and a call on out, this is your chance to definitely take a look at that. Let's go towards Tesla. If we continuing to drop there. Now we're coming back. We're trying to hold the $900. We can see it drop from around the 920s. We'll see if it takes it out on this next leg down. Joe the Terminator, Biden's new name. We'll see what happens there. Let's go ahead. Let's dive on in to see what we're looking at in right now to see if my kind of gambling trade is falling off the tape here. It looks like we are starting to pull back there. We went to 1510s on DraftKings. I actually had an order out there in the 90s, 1590s to sell. We'll see what happens. I'm not too concerned about these right now. Of course, they do have earnings later in the week. Let's take a look at a stock that does have earnings after the bell. AMD starting to turn around. They tried to get to 100. So I was taking a look at it to see if it would get up there. Of course, the earnings are going to be very important. This stock has made a huge run in the last couple of weeks. It's been what? 14 days, 20 days, 14 bars, 20 days, and it's up about like 32%. So we'll see if it's able to hold after the earnings today. Starbucks is one that I'm short, full disclosure, short from yesterday. Going to see what happens in their earnings tonight. I'm going to actually swing trade this short here. We'll see what happens on Starbucks. I have an order above those 85s into the 85.25 level is what I was watching to get stopped out. And it started coming on up there, but it didn't stop me out there. Going to hang on to this as it's coming down, and we'll see if it can continue cracking. Why do I like Starbucks short? If we look at the daily, this stock has come up from the lows there about 19%, and I think it could crack back down towards the 80s with some bad earnings tonight. We'll see what happens there in Starbucks. They do have earnings after the close. The big monster move has been in that AMTD. We'll see if that can continue. I saw earlier today a nice little run in this one, but I wasn't trading it. I was just watching it here. I did see some of these pullbacks, not bad attempts there off of, let's say, the 825 area, but this stock is just kind of one of those stocks that I stay away from. All right, let's go ahead. Let's take a look there. It's 1:53 in a few couple seconds. We're going to get you guys over to roadmap action. That's going to be coming on up here. Let's take a look at PayPal. Also, reports after the close today, catching that bid there. It doesn't look too bad here on the 15-minute as it's pulled on back. Let's take a look at the daily candle. This has been pushing up significantly. I talked about this one about a week or so ago, that it started looking better. It's made its way back there to 90. Now could pull back a little bit here. So you just got to be careful. All right. Is the SPY continuing to leak there? We saw that hard downturn. I was going to watch to see if we were going to break through the 409, but it ain't happening right now. All right. Looking to see if I see any news out there right now, but nothing hitting the tape as we speak. I'm just going to keep watching to see if we can close red or green on the day. And to see what happens here in, of course, oil. Oil is going to be a big focus of mine. If we're going to see inflation come back, what's going to happen with a stock like ExxonMobil? I will get the risk, baby. No risk. You got to risk it to get the biscuit. Hey, that's how it is. It's just not stocks that I like to trade there. But, hey, to each his own, right? All right, we'll see what's going on. I was seeing a trader earlier in the day that was looking for a BAC move back to 35. It got up there, but quickly turned back around. All right, traders, we're about to get on out of here. We got about a couple minutes left, about 4 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and see what stocks are moving on out there to see what we can capture. Cannabis stocks, I did see a lot of people were focusing on cannabis stocks. You're seeing Tilray push off the 345s. I remember I was holding this for a while, guys, off of 350s. And then it comes right back up there today and starts pushing. So this is one to keep watch, right? What's going to happen in cannabis is something important. You can see here CGC getting that lift also. So you could see some more talk of cannabis in the media. Of course, this would come with talks of that bill going through, or at least it going to vote, which is interesting itself. We'll see if CGC can really take that lift. Of course, you're going to see cheap names like Kern being mentioned. What about Sundial? Sundial getting some lift today? Yeah, it's getting some lift. We'll see what happens with this one. SNDL. Oh, they did a split. They did a split. I was wondering why I was trading at $2. Well, they did a 1-for-10 split there at 228. So this is helping it out. HKD, man. Oh my God. This stock is an absolute monster. I don't know what is going on in HKD, why it's going through the roof here. I don't think anyone really knows, but it has been an absolute monster. Went from today, it opened up around, what we got, 900 or 824, and it went all the way up to 2,500, actually higher than that, 2,555.30. Holy moly, is this stock moving around? Not something that I'm trading, but hey, it's a lot going on there. Yeah, this is the craziest stock definitely of this week and probably this year. HKD ripping through the roof. We'll see what happens. I also saw different short squeeze stocks that were moving. I talked about this one yesterday, Triple BY, that it could get some lift. Man, this thing got some lift today. It went up through the six, all the way up to 650s. We'll continue to watch. I mean, you can look at a lot of the crappy stocks to see if they can continue running. ARKK is one to keep on watch. Was starting to push. I talked about this level multiple times that it tried to get through on the downside around the 44s. Today, you don't even reject 45. You push right up there to 47. What are some of these names that are doing well in ARKK? Well, you got some healthcare names coming back in here. PACB. Keep this one on radar. Just bounced off the 450s. Has some room, I feel, to run to 550s. It's interesting to watch PACB. Diagnostics and research area. Coin, 8% bounce. Roku, 7% bounce. Almost filling the shadow. We drew this shadow yesterday. We talked about, would it get filled? Another day up there for Roku, almost filling that huge down gap that it got from the earnings. Could get up there all the way to 80. We'll see what happens. You up there about 4%. This one's actually getting interesting. Look how much bottoming action is in the same area. And then now we can really start risking off of, let's say, 34s or 30s, looking for the move back up through 50s. Not a bad one to keep on watch. Also, when you're seeing snow push right back on up there today, as it was going down here in the pre-market, and then just push right out the gates there up towards 155. All right, that's it. That's going to do it for me, guys. It's 1:58. I'm going to get you guys on over to some roadmap action. Yes, I said it. Go check out some NFT action. See what happened. I don't know if you guys were able to catch the video yesterday of the VFriends card opening, but it was really fun to watch Chris open those packs with his kids. And like I always say, give it to the kids to pull those packs, right? Because those kids got the luck in them. And they got a nice rare card yesterday. If you didn't catch that, that was roadmap action. I'm sure they'll cover it on the roadmap. Come on over, guys. Check this on out. We'll see you guys tomorrow right here on Stock Market Movers as we continue with the informational edge to help you guys stay in the lead, guys. We got to keep pushing. We'll see what happens in the market. Do we close green on the day? Do we close red? It's so important. We just clicked right back down below that kind of close of yesterday, which was 410.10. Let's see if we get back above that level, or do we close below it? It's so important. We'll see what happens. I'll see you guys on at the close. I'll be back with Joel Elconin at 3:30. See you guys there, and hit the thumbs up on your way out.